Hey, started.
ॐ यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं हदेवम् आत्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Okay. Close the last week's session. Somebody said there is a question, but we'll do it next week. So maybe that person is logged in. I don't know. Yeah. Probably it was
Shwetambari, was
Shwetambari.
it you? I think it
Yeah, I
was.
think it was
Yeah, I
Shwetambari.
was there, and somebody else also wanted to ask the question. I'll
Yeah.
start with my question.
Mm,
So I was listening to your previous recording on Vivek Chudamani
mm,
and the last time session. You
mm.
talked about apparent world. This world is apparent, and is it this apparent world like Maya?
Yeah, it's a product of mind. It's a that's what we mean by that word. Because see, you have to understand apparent. Uh, when you see a mirage water or when you see a rope snake, the apparent duration is very short. You probably realize in a few minutes that it is not real; it is imagined. But the world is apparent over a much longer period. So it is the scale at which you have to understand. Does it make sense?
Sir, sorry, sir, your voice broke off in the between.
Okay,
Can you
so
please
what?
repeat it?
Yeah. What did you get, or did you lose completely everything?
Yes, sir, I almost lost everything because it was
Okay,
not audible.
right, great. So let me try to repeat. So when you see a rope snake or mirage water, it is also apparent, but the apparentness of that rope snake or the mirage water is for a short duration. You probably imagine the mirage water is there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and after that 5-10 minutes, you realize there is no water. So that apparentness within quotes it vanishes. Whereas when we say the world is apparent, it's over a much longer scale of time. Okay, so for that reason, you have to understand how we define apparent versus
So, so your voice broke again. Sorry.
yeah, I think the problem is at my end. So just to confirm, everybody else also had the same problem.
Yes,
Did
I
everyone
also
have?
could not hear you. Sir, maybe try switching off the video. That might help.
Okay, good idea. I'll switch off the video. Yes. Okay, let's hope this works now. Should I repeat the whole thing?
No,
Or
sir,
should I
just the
start
last
somewhere
part.
in between?
Yes, where you said how it's important how we define the apparent world, and then it broke off.
Correct. So when you talk about the world being apparent, it is on a much larger scale. So what we say is anything that is limited by space and time is apparent, and Brahman, which is the reality, is beyond time and space. Okay, so in that sense, the world is limited in time and it is probably limited in space, because you don't know how big the universe is and we don't know what is beyond this universe. Nobody knows. Okay, so our present understanding is that the universe is unlimited, but that may not be true. And we all know that it is definitely limited in time, because there was a time when this universe was not there. That's why we talk about the Big Bang and all that. And then even the scientists agree that at some point the universe will start contracting and it will get destroyed, or it will continue to expand and explode at some point. So both, there are many theories, but everybody agrees that this world will come to an end. At least the galaxies and stars will come to an end. Okay, this time was my voice stable?
Yes, sir. Eh, Right now it was audible. So then just a follow-up question, only to clarify my misunderstanding. Maybe when we say apparent world, how come we all have the same apparent world and this that we consider as reality? How come every Atman has the same reality and we continue to exist in this apparent world?
Um, okay, first of all, you don't have the same reality in the sense all of us may be looking at the same object. Please understand the difference. We all may be looking at the same object, but how we experience and perceive that object will be very different, because the perception of the objective world is filtered and colored through our mind. And no two people will have the exact same experience, because no two persons will have the exact same state of the mind. Okay, so in that sense, all of us don't have the same experience, but all of us are perceiving the same object. I mean, in a local sense, if I am sitting in my room, the objects that I perceive are very different from the objects my wife or my son may be perceiving in their rooms. In that sense, we don't perceive the same objects. Okay, so it's a very nuanced thing. So when you say we all perceive the same thing, yes, you have to go back to the theory of perception or theory of knowledge that I explained. You have the object of perception in front of you, then you have the sense organs, then you have the mind, and then you have the consciousness. That mechanism is the same for everyone. Okay, so if all of us go to a movie, let's say all of us in this group, we decide to go to a movie together, and then we all sit in the movie hall. Of course, we all will have the same movie in front of us, but whether do we enjoy the movie in exactly the same way as another person is, yeah, it's open to discussion. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir, definitely. Uh, then I also had one another question. Um, when you say that we all are same, as in the Brahman is same, how does Advaita Vedanta then explain the good and the evil? Or is there no such thing as good and evil?
See, the good and evil exists in the relative world. This distinction you have to clearly understand. Whenever we talk about Brahman being one and all of us essentially are Brahman, that is the ultimate absolute truth. And in that absolute truth level, Paramarthika plane, there is no second thing at all. So there is no good, bad, there is no ugly, beauty, nothing. There is no duality there. But the moment you talk about good and evil, good, bad, ugly, and all that, we are now at the transactional or relative plane, and there all the dualities are still there, because at a transactional level we still face individuals, we still have objects. So you should never mix up the two levels of reality at this in the same sentence. That will cause confusion. It is a little like saying, again, I gave this example in one of the previous talks. The science tells us that we are all made of protons, electrons, and neutrons, correct? But we all
Yes, sir.
feel hungry, we all feel hungry, we all feel thirsty, we all feel tired, we all feel happy, sad, and all that. How is it that we feel all these things when everybody is made of protons, electrons, and neutrons? Yeah. So
Yes.
can you connect the two?
Hmm. Mm.
So
Yes,
that
yes,
we are
I'm
all
getting the
made.
points.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I remember the time you explained this example.
Yeah. So the fact that all of us are made of electrons, protons, and neutrons is at a different level of understanding or experience. The fact that we have a body, we feel hungry, we feel thirsty, we feel tired, we want to go to sleep, and no, when we get up in the morning, we want to wash ourselves because we feel dirty. All those things happen in spite of the fact that it's all still electron, protons, and neutrons. Your body is electron, proton, neutron. Whatever you eat is electron, proton, neutron. The water that you wash yourself with is electron, proton, neutron. But still we do all that, right? It's exactly like that. So they are two different aspects of reality or experience. So Brahman being one, when you say that, there is no second thing there to make it good, bad, ugly, whatever. It's only one. There is no second entity at all. That's like the fact that we are all made of protons, electrons, and neutrons. So you have to treat them at that kind of understanding level.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So so no one else has a question. Can we move on to Vivek Chodamani then? Or is there a question? Okay. So today we have a much smaller audience, so maybe there are no questions. Right. I'll start sharing my screen and then we can go window. Yeah. Right. Oh, what is this? 259. Astabhedam anapastalakshanam nistaranga jalarashi nischalam nityamuktam avibhakta murti edu brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. This is what we finished last class. We now have to go to the next sloka. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So
But now we cannot hear you. Can everybody else hear him?
No.
is that okay now?
Yes, sir. Now we can
Yes,
see
sir.
and
Now,
hear.
yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, so my internet is playing truant today. I hope it gets better. Okay. Ekamev sadaneka karanam. Karanantara nirasa karanam. Karya karana vilakshanam. Swayam brahmatatvamasi bhavayatmani. Ekamev sadaneka karanam. Karanantara nirasa karanam. Karya karana vilakshanam. Swayam brahmatatvamasi bhavayatmani. So, ekam eva sat. Ekam eva. Ekam means one. Eva means only. Sat refers to Brahman. The word Sat is used to indicate Brahman in the Chandogya Upanishad 6th chapter. Sadeva Somya Idamagra Asit Ekamevadvitiyam. That is the mantra from Chandogya. So Sat is often used as a synonym for Brahman. So Ekam Eva Sat, Brahman is only one. Aneka Karanam, but it is the cause of many things. Aneka Karanam means everything. Everything in the world is supposed to emerge from Brahman. Ekameva Sad Eka Karanam. So this is the one cause of everything. Aneka Karanam. Okay, so the whole sloka is talking about the cause and effect aspect of Brahman. Okay, so before I go into the word by word, line by line explanation, I have to give you a broad overview of how Advaitam deals with cause and effect or cause and product angle. Okay, so we talk about a cause and an effect like clay. Clay is the cause of the pot because the pot is made of clay. Gold is the cause of the ornament. Ornaments are generally made of gold. Okay, so generally cause has two aspects. There is a material cause and there is an intelligent cause. So the material cause is called upadana karanam in Sanskrit, and the intelligent cause is called the nimitta karanam. Nimitta karanam is the intelligent cause. So for the pot, the potter is the intelligent cause because the clay doesn't automatically become a pot. The clay has to be molded into a pot by the potter. So the potter is the intelligent cause, the clay is the material cause. Similarly, in the case of ornament, the gold is a material cause, the goldsmith is the intelligent cause. Okay. So when we say Brahman is the cause of this creation, the question comes, is Brahman the material cause or is Brahman the intelligent cause? Then the Upanishads say that Brahman is both material and intelligent cause. Because really speaking, there is no second entity. Brahman is the only entity available. So Brahman cannot make use of any secondary or second entity as a material cause. Brahman is both the material and intelligent cause. So this is one very important aspect of cause effect theory that Advaitam talks about. Okay, I'll pause here. Was my voice stable? Did you all get what I was saying? Do you have questions on that? At least someone has to say yes, no, something.
Yes, sir, you were audible.
Okay.
But just only one question. The cause of the creation, you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Cause of the creation, cause of this universe. Yeah. I mean, when I say universe, it's not just the universe that we know, consisting of the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy and all that. It's about all the 14 lokas that the Puranas talk about. That is creation for us. The scientists do not know about the other 13 lokas. They only know about this loka. Okay, so Brahman is both the material cause and intelligent cause. And the Upanishads actually give an example to show that such a thing is possible. Because the potter doesn't become the pot. The potter and the clay are different. So the normal examples that we know are all the intelligent cause and the material cause are different. So the goldsmith and the gold are different. The goldsmith doesn't become the ornament. It's the gold that is made into an ornament. But in the case of the world, Brahman is both the material and intelligent cause. So you may ask, where is such an example to see? The Upanishad says the example is what? Spider. The Upanishad actually gives the example of a spider. It says, Yathorna nabhihi srijate grinnate cha. That's a mantra you find in Mundakopanishad. Urna nabhi means spider. So the spider, when it spins a web, it spins the web using a certain liquid that comes from its tummy. So the liquid is spun into a fine thread, and using that thread, the spider weaves the web. So here, the material cause and the intelligent cause are one and the same. And you might say that the liquid that comes out is not the spider. That's a different story. But whenever we use an example, you have to take what is similar and leave out what is not similar. Okay, and then the Upanishad goes on to give a couple of more examples. Yatha prithvivyam oshadaya sambhavanti. So the earth is supposed to be made of inert matter, soil, materials, minerals and all that. But then from the earth alone, the trees and plants come up. So even though the earth is apparently inert, it gives rise to living beings like plants and of course animals. Okay, and yatha yathorna abhisrajate grinnate cha yatha prithvyam oshade sambhavanti yatha satah purusha keshalomani. And it talks about the human being itself. In the human being is generally very sentient. All over the body we have a lot of sensation, but we don't have sensation in two places. We don't have sensation in our hair, and we don't have sensation in our nails, the tip of the nails. That's why we can happily cut our nails and happily cut our hair. Imagine if you had pain in cutting your hair and your nails. In every hairdressing salon, people will be screaming. But that doesn't happen because cutting the hair doesn't cause any pain. Okay, so the Upanishad says, even though the human being is very sentient all over the body, the human being has the hair and the nail which are not sentient. Okay, so it is trying to tell you that the sentient and insentient can coexist without contradiction. That's the whole idea. So Brahman being the intelligent cause and the material cause, two in one, is established in that way. Okay, now that's not the end of the story. But then we have a problem. The moment you say Brahman is a cause, that's a problem, because a cause generally has to undergo a change to become the effect. If the gold is a material cause, that gold has to undergo some change, physical change, in order to become the ornament. Similarly, the clay to undergo, it undergoes a change to become the pot. And we give examples like the milk becoming curd. When the milk becomes curd, the milk is a material cause, the curd is the effect or the product. So you can now talk about reversible change and irreversible change. That's a different story. But then any change, if Brahman is a cause of the universe, any change in Brahman will make Brahman subject to destruction. Because of the rule I told in the previous class, there are 6 modifications that a person or an entity can undergo Asti jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. So the moment there is one change, all the other 5 changes will kick in, and then Brahman will be subject to destruction. So we cannot accept Brahman as a cause if it undergoes a change. Okay, this is the second step. Is that clear? Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on the one side, we say that Brahman is the cause of the universe, but on the other side, we have a problem if we accept that Brahman is the cause of the universe, because to become the cause of the universe, Brahman will undergo a change. Okay, so how do we solve the problem in Advaitam? We say that Brahman creates the world without undergoing any change, and then you may ask, how is that possible? Then we say it is exactly like how the rope becomes a snake. When you see the rope as a snake, the rope has not become a snake. It appears like a snake. Or the sand, when the sand becomes the mirage water, the sand doesn't undergo any change. It merely appears as a mirage water. Similarly, Brahman does not undergo any change, but merely appears as the world. That's why we say the world is apparent. Now, this may answer your earlier question in the discussion section. Why do we call the world apparent? We call the world apparent because if Brahman were to, if the world were to enjoy the same level of reality as Brahman, then that would mean Brahman has undergone a change in order to become the world. Since we cannot accept that, we say that Brahman has a higher level of reality than the world, and Brahman appears as a world, as the creation. Okay, so that is why we in the shloka you will say Karya Karana Vilakshanam Swayam. That's the third line. So all the explanation that I gave you till now is an explanation for the third line, or even the second line also. Second line is different. It's mainly for the third line. Okay, did you get the whole picture, all of you, or any doubts? Somebody should answer. Nobody has a question? Or did I did I not come across with my voice? Was my voice not audible?
So you are audible.
Okay, right. So I'm really surprised that nobody has a question, because this is one of the most difficult things to understand and digest. So I did expect quite a few questions, but then yeah, maybe this group is super intelligent. They have absorbed everything. I'm so happy. So can we move on?
No, sir, not super intelligent, but it takes some time to actually digest and think about it.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, you think about it. I'm sure you will have questions, because this is something which is a little like what shall I say? If you have done mathematics, it's like Fourier transformation. If you have understood Fourier transformation in the first class itself, then you probably deserve the mathematics Nobel Prize. And nobody understands Fourier transformation in the first class. So it's a little like that. Anyway, so I'll go back to the shloka. You can feel free to stop me and ask your questions in case you suddenly think of some question. No problem. So ekameva sad aneka karanam. So we accept that Brahman is the cause of the creation, but as I said, not the real cause, but the apparent cause. Okay, karanantara nirasa karanam. That means whenever we talk about any cause in this world, that cause also has a cause. There is no cause in this world which has no higher cause. So, for instance, let's take ourselves. So, we all come from our parents. So, our parents are our cause. But our parents had their parents, our grandparents. So, the parents have a cause. The grandparents in turn had their parents, great grandparents. So, they had a cause. So, like that, our entire ancestry had a cause, and any ancestor would have his father, parents, father, mother. So we have never come across an entity which is a cause but doesn't have a cause of its own. But Brahman is the only such entity where it is a cause without a cause for itself. So Brahman is a causeless cause. Karanantara nirasa karanam means Brahman is a causeless cause. There is no cause which created Brahman. If there were a cause that created Brahman, then we would go for a cause for that cause. It will become what is called the anavastha dosha, or it's called infinite regress in English. So at Brahman, like the Americans say, the buck stops at Brahman. There is nothing beyond Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate cause for everything, which itself doesn't have a cause. That is karanantara nirasa karanam. Then karya karana vilakshanam swayam. So this is what I explained for 10 minutes as to why we don't accept Brahman as a real cause, but as an apparent cause. Because if Brahman were to become the cause, it would have to undergo a change, and then it would be subject to destruction. So we say that Brahman is beyond cause and effect. So karya karana vilakshanam means it is beyond cause and effect. Karya is effect, karanam is cause. Vilakshanam means neither, different from both. So karya karana vilakshanam swayam, it is beyond cause and effect. It is neither cause nor effect. Brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. So you own up yourself as that Brahman. So that is the 60th shloka, 260 shloka. Okay. So at least now, if there are questions, we can take, because I have completed the shloka. If there are no questions, we'll move on to 261.
Sir, so we have a question. So if Brahman is the apparent cause of the world, right? Then that means the world doesn't have a real cause.
Because the world itself is not real.
Right. Okay.
From that sense.
That was my conclusion, but I wanted to make sure that's the right conclusion. Okay.
Correct. So the world is not real. And when you say not real, what we really mean is it is subject to space and time. So it will cease to exist at some point. It is destructible. That's a meaning. That's a real, deeper meaning of the word. When we say the world is not real, we define real as something that is never subject to destruction, that is never subject to limitation, anantam, nirantaram. So that is our definition of real. So compared to that definition of real or reality, this world is temporary. It's temporary for a very long duration. Maybe it is temporary for 1 trillion years or multiple trillion years, but it's still temporary. Because at the end of 1 trillion years, let's say, you give a very big number. Let's say this world is going to exist for 1 trillion years. That is 10 to the power 18 years. But still, after 10 to the power 18 years, the world will come to an end. So in that sense, it is temporary. Is it correct, or does it make sense?
Yes, sir, it makes sense.
Yeah. So when we say not real or temporary and all that, it is at that scale, it is still subject to destruction, whereas Brahman is never subject to destruction at all. So that is the way you have to understand the statement that the world is not real. And we also give an example. When you're dreaming, again, I'm bringing the dream for the nth time, maybe. When you are dreaming, the dream appears absolutely real. If somebody were to come and tell you, if a dream guru were to come and tell you in your dream that, whatever you are seeing here is not real, it's a dream, you won't believe him. Because in the dream, everything is real for you. But you have to first wake up to know that it was a dream. So what we say is, this world experience that we have is also like that. It's a higher dream. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Can unmute.
Sir, but I'm still unable to understand if the Brahman is not the cause of no. It is not destructible. You cannot destroy the Brahman, but somehow it is been created, or Brahman is not
No,
created, and it
no,
only
Brahman is
exists.
never created. Brahman is anadi. It is without a beginning.
But there has to be somewhere the beginning, sir.
That's the whole point, ma'am. See, see, let's
Okay.
just take the Upanishad Vakyam. Let's say Upanishad Vakyam. Brahman is supposed to be Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Okay. Kadeshabhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That's the Upanishad Vakyam. Now, Satyam means, at one level we translate it as real, but at a slightly subtle level we translate Satyam as existence itself. Satta. We use the word Satta. It is existence itself. Okay. Now, I will give you some examples before I come to the punchline. Okay, I have a punchline, but I'll come to the punchline after I give you some examples. This whole discussion, Guruji, does this discussion in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm taking the context here. When we refer to a lot of things in the world, we use an adjective and we use a noun together. Okay, so we say a tall tree, or a tall man, or a fat man. Okay, we use all these things. It's a tall, fat, these are all adjectives, and tree, man, these are all persons, nouns. So when you say there is a tree, you can actually touch a tree, there is some material there. And the man, of course, you can touch, there is some material there. Okay, that is one set of examples where the adjective is an attribute and the noun is real. The noun is real. Now let us take some other examples. We say, I am wearing a golden ring, or I'm wearing a golden chain, or I'm sitting on a wooden chair, or I'm sitting at a wooden table. So the golden ring, the wooden chair, these are also adjective and noun. Okay, but then the noun gold, the noun ring is not really a substance. It's a golden, which is a substance. Similarly, the wooden table, the wooden is a substance, the table is just a shape and form. You get the difference between the two sets of examples?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So when I say a tall tree or a tall man, the tall adjective is really an adjective and the man or tree is the material. But here in the golden ring or the wooden furniture, it is the wooden or golden which are adjectives which indicate the material, and the noun, really speaking, is a name and form. Okay, so you keep these two examples, these two pairs of examples as your reference. Now we'll come to a third set of sentences. Okay, we say, there is a building, there is a car, there is a tree in front. So that is associated with all these things: the building, the car, the tree. All these are, there is a tree, there is a car, and all that. Now, this is not an adjective, it's a verb. Let us transform the sentence into an adjective noun combination. Then how will it sound? We could say an existing house, an existing tree, an existing car. Okay, then existing or existent. Existent is your adjective. Can you follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we now have another third set of sentences with the adjective and a noun. Existent tree, existent man, existent car. Now, this third set of adjective and noun, does it belong to the first set of examples or the second set of examples? Does it belong to the category of tall tree, tall man, or does it belong to the golden ornament and wooden furniture? What is the status of the third category? Please, everybody unmute and let's go for a vote. I want everyone to say what is their view. Please, all of you, please unmute.
So I think neither nor, not the first, not the second.
Okay, that's a very interesting answer. Anybody else? Manjari ma'am?
I tend to agree with what she just said.
Okay, neither nor. Okay. Oh, Ekta ji,
I'll say both.
you don't have a choice of both.
No.
You have to either say this or that. Even that other neither nor is also not acceptable. You have to force fit into one or the other, because there is no such thing as neither nor.
Then it could be that golden
Okay, golden.
ring.
Okay, then who else? Shwetamari ma'am, you gave a neither nor. You have to change your answer.
Then I think it is the first, sir. Maybe the tall one.
Tall. Okay, so we have 1-1. Okay, then Adhyatmavari. What's your vote?
I would go for the first also.
Tall tree, tall man.
Yes.
Okay. Ekta ji.
I would go with the second one. Second, the wooden table. The second
Okay.
option.
Okay, so we are tied 2-2. Then we have two more people, Srija and Rahul, or Badri and Rahul.
I will go for the second one, sir. Golden ring and wooden table.
Okay, so we are now 2-3. Then Badri or Srija, who's logged in? Hello.
But my confidence wise means that I
golden
don't
ring.
know.
Golden ring. So we are now 2-4. Okay, I think the majority is correct. It is the golden ring example, because what we say is, when you say existent, it is Brahman, which is the existence with a capital E, which is the substance behind the man, car, building, everything. So Brahman is existence with a capital E. That is why we call it Satta. Satyam is existence. Now, if you were to say that Brahman was created at some point, it would mean that existence was non-existent, and then it became existent. Would that not be a contradiction?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the reason we don't accept that Brahman had an origin. Brahman cannot have an origin because existence cannot have non-existence. because Brahman is existence and it lends existence to everything else. So everything else means the whole creation. So the whole creation borrows existence from Brahman. So the whole creation has an existence that is dependent on Brahman, which is why we say the world creation is a mithya. Mithya means that which has a dependent existence. Okay, now in the golden ornament example, if you remove all the gold from the ornament, there will be no ornament left. If you remove all the clay from the pot, there will be no pot left. So the ornament is just a name and form. The pot is just a name and form. Similarly, the world is just a name and form. The substance behind this name and form is nothing but Brahman. So in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a mantra which exactly reflects this idea. Trayam va idagum nama rupam karma jagat. Trayam va idagum nama rupam karma jagat. Nama is name, rupa is shape or form, karma is function. There, the Upanishad adds a third dimension, karma, function. You know, the function of the pot is what? To carry water. The function of the chain is what? To decorate our neck. The function of the ring is to decorate our finger. The function of the chair is to enable people to sit on it. Like that, every name and form has a function. But the substance behind all the name, forms, and functions is nothing but Brahman, because everything borrows existence from Brahman. So Brahman is the existence with a capital E. And that Brahman cannot have non-existence. That will be a contradiction. That is why Brahman is beginningless. And beginningless is also the same as costless. You know, it has no cost. Okay, so that was 260. Yes, ma'am, Manjari.
Sir, Brahman has no non existence, but is there such a thing as non existence? And if yes, what is it?
See, non-existence can be experienced in the relative plane. When we talk about the transactional plane, or what we said Vyavaharika plane, you have non-existence, and there is a school of philosophy called Nyaya Vaisheshika. They call themselves Naiyayikas. So what you called Tarka or logic, and they define 6 different forms of non-existence. No, that's actually a comedy, because non-existence is something that you cannot experience, but they define 6 types of non-existence. Okay, I don't know all the 6 types, but they say something like abhava. The word they use is abhava, prag abhava, pradvamsa abhava. So prag abhava means prior non-existence. So a common example you can give is, you plant a seed in the ground, and then out of that a tree grows. So until the planting of the seed and until the sprouts come, there was actually no tree. So the tree had a prior non-existence. Okay, and let's say you have a glass in which you drink water, and suddenly one day you drop the glass and it breaks. So the glass has a pradvamsa abhava. It got destroyed. It had an existence, but then somebody broke it and it got destroyed. That is pradvamsa abhava. So like that, they define 6 categories of abhava, 6 categories of non-existence. You can do Google and find out Nyaya's definition of 6 categories of non-existence. They have some very funny definitions. Okay, but abhava is something you can experience in the relative plane, but not in the absolute plane. In the absolute sense, there is no non-existence. There is only one Brahman which exists all the time.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Shwetamabari, ma'am.
So if the Brahman created, the Brahman is the cause of creation of Brahman, how is Brahman
No, no.
created?
No. I didn't say Brahman is the cause of creation of Brahman. No, that's the wrong understanding. Brahman is the cause of this creation which you see as a universe. But Brahman was never created. That's what I'm trying to explain all the while. Brahman did not have a non-existence because existence cannot have non-existence.
Yes, but then it has to somehow exist. How does it
No.
exist in itself?
And, this is, I mean, what do you mean? How does it exist? It is existing. That's a fact. You just have to accept it.
Okay,
I
sir.
mean, can you be more elaborate on why you have that question? I mean, I'm sure you have some reason why you are asking this question. So I just want to
Yes,
know the reason.
no, it may sound very stupid, but the world has a cause. It's
Mhm.
Brahman,
Mhm.
but Brahman doesn't have a cause,
Yeah.
and it still exists. Then it
Mhm.
has to exist in some way where
Yeah.
we could understand this existence, E with capital.
Okay. Now, this question comes because you're still not appreciated the fact that Brahman about which we are talking is nothing but your own true nature, which is your consciousness. Okay. So, what I would recommend is whenever you find some time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, you just close your eyes and sit quietly and meditate and try to go inside and see how you are able to perceive consciousness. You cannot perceive consciousness because you cannot objective with consciousness. Ultimately, you have to say, I exist, and you have to own up that existence of yourself. Okay, now you have closed all your eyes, ears, nose, all your sense organs. You don't experience anything outside, but you still exist. And that is how Brahman exists. The Brahman exists in exactly the same way as you exist, not in the normal sense, but when you sit in meditation and focus only on your inner consciousness, and you somehow manage to intellectually understand how you exist as consciousness, then you will know how Brahman exists. And
Okay, so yes, I got it, sir. Yeah.
that neti, you have to understand. Neti
Yes,
means
yes.
everything that you objectify in the world, you have to negate. This is not me, this is not me, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman. And finally, when you have negated everything, you end up with the negator, which is yourself, and you own it up. And if you can intellectually grasp that, that is exactly how Brahman exists. Because that Brahman is none other than you. It's not some entity sitting somewhere. Brahman is not in space. Please understand and remember, Brahman is not in space, but Brahman, all the spaces of the universe exist in Brahman. All the spaces within quotes exist within Brahman. So the Brahman is the locus of even space. No, we generally think that space is the container in which the whole universe is accommodated. But Brahman is a container in which the space itself is accommodated. So Brahman doesn't have to look for a place to exist because all the places are within Brahman.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is probably not so easy to put your hands around or put your brain around, but this is the most important conclusion that you have to understand and absorb. Otherwise, Vedanta will sound like some, some whatever, mumbo jumbo. It's not mumbo jumbo. This is the thing. There's nothing mystical about it. It's entirely stuff that you should understand and own up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. So we are at 2 minutes before 9. I don't think we can go to another shloka because it will take another at least 15-20 minutes, because the shloka is what? 261. Nirvikalpakam analpamaksharam yat sharakshara vilakshanam param nityam abhyay sukam niranjanam brahma tattvamasi bhavyatmani. I have to explain what is sharam aksharam. That will itself take 10 minutes. So we can't do any more shlokas today because we had a good discussion. I am really thankful for all the questions. If there are any more questions, we can talk for a few more minutes. Otherwise, we close and meet next week.
Not a question, sir, just an observation. It is really difficult to accept accept this. What should I say? It's not a philosophy, but the fact that we are Brahman and we were existing, we exist, and we will continue to exist as Brahman.
Correct.
And there is
Correct.
no cause or at the end no effect. And
Correct.
that is a very powerful thought, and it takes time to sink in.
Yeah. Yeah. That sinking in is the Nididhyasanam exercise. And that's exactly why we are doing all these shlokas in Viveka Chudamani, because Nididhyasanam is a very gradual, long, and time consuming process, because it is not, shall we say, it is to reprogram your mind and reprogram your attitude. And reprogramming your mind is not so easy. So it has to happen very gradually. And Nididhyasanam is exactly that reprogramming of your mind. In fact, this shloka number 254 is the beginning of the Nididhyasanam portion of Viveka Chudamani. And it goes on and on and on for about 115 shlokas. So up to 417 or so is Nididhyasanam. So what is 417 minus 254 or 253? Let me stop sharing. Let me do a quick mathematics. So I have 417. I have 253. I do a subtraction. It comes to 164. So we have something like 164 or 165 shlokas, which are focused only for Nididhyasanam. And Vivek Chudamani has a total of 580 shlokas. So imagine 164 out of, it's about 25% or so of the whole of Vivek Chudamani, 28%. So Shankaracharya has devoted 28% of Vivek Chudamani just for Nididhyasanam. So that shows how much of importance the Acharya has given for Nididhyasan. So it's a very gradual and slow process. So yeah, I mean, if people are interested, I'm ready to do as many of these 164 as possible. It's all a question of how interested the audience is. Already, we used to have 10, 12 people in the group, and now it's kind of slowly shrinking to 5, 6, 7. So if these 5, 6, 7 people continue to come, then I'm fine. I've conducted classes for one student. Okay, I'm not really concerned about the number of people who come. So even if one person comes, I'm ready to conduct the class. But having more people is good because it will trigger a lot of different types of questions, discussions, and it makes a little more lively. That's the whole point. Okay. Right.
Definitely, sir. Sir, and only one thing that this is just my observation, maybe because it is so difficult to actually understand the whole fact about it. Somewhere I feel the fear that I might get lost. Am I following the right path, or I may lose my way in understanding the whole phenomenon?
How can you lose your way? Please explain with some examples.
Example in the sense, I might start thinking that, yes, this is just an example, that I might think that Brahman exists somewhere in the space. This is just one small example. And concentrate on that there is one Parmeshwar and I have to get to that Parmeshwar. This is also some kind of misleading, is it not?
See, we talk about a Parmeshwar sitting somewhere in Kailash or Vaikuntha as a primary school, kindergarten kind of lesson. Okay, that's the starting point. It's not wrong. It's a starting point of the journey, and from there you have to make progress. And so, this Vedanta that you are now learning is the ultimate lesson or destination. So the journey is not a physical journey, the journey is an intellectual journey. Okay. So if you
Yes,
now
Brahman.
start thinking that there is some Parmeshwar sitting somewhere, it means after you know, after you have cleared your masters and you are now registered for PhD, you are suddenly sitting in the second standard or first standard. That's how it would be.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
exactly the fear
it's
that I
not
have.
losing your way, but it's kind of
Mhm.
getting yourself to a level which you cleared long back.
Okay. Or just one another example, like that thinking that I am the Brahman and we all exist as Brahman, then somewhere having this kind of ego that I am the one, that kind of getting away from my focus.
Yeah, whenever you get that kind of a thought, you should immediately remember even the other people around you are the same. So there is no I am the one doesn't mean you are superior to the others, because they are also the same one. The thing is, you know that and they don't know that. That's the only difference.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are different techniques to avoid these kind of pitfalls. So, as long as you don't lose your focus on the main core teaching, all these are small disturbances. You can always overcome that. That's not a problem. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Manjari ji.
More questions, sir, but if there's no time, I can ask next time.
No, you ask your question, and if it is too big, I'll answer next class. Only you have to repeat it at the beginning of next class. That's all.
Okay. No, you might have also gone through this before, but you said Brahman is the um, origin, the cause of everything, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
cause
then
within
everything
quotes.
else is an effect. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything
again,
else
effect
is
within
an
quotes.
effect.
Apparent effect, apparent cause.
So, what
Mm.
triggers the cause to cause the effect?
Okay, that's Srishti Prakaranam. Anyway, so we'll come to that maybe next class. It requires a fairly long answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try my best, because it's not so easy to answer that question, but we'll do it. We'll try to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Right. Right. We are 6 minutes past 9. So let us close today's session. If anyone still has a question, please, as I suggest, write it down on a paper. Next class, we will take it up. Okay. Right. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Pisukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, good night. Namaste.